sits down and as he sees Messi as an opponent and he says, I'm going to be like him and stay on the same level with him. Because we knew Messi before we knew Ronaldo. But I'm
Yeah.
sure two of them must have played somehow in the youth level. They must have seen each other and said, man, this guy is good. I'm going to make my standard be up to that standard. And I'll keep watching him and I'm not going to drop my standard. That's what I feel because the two of them are competitors.
Mm. Yes, they push each other. That's the beauty of
Yeah.
top level sportsmen in any sport. They actually generate the motivation in the others, like the tennis three. I'm sure they all wanted to be one better than the others, and certainly with Messi and Ronaldo, that has to be the case, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's something else. So we'll talk about shirts in football. So jersey numbers. And you think about, say, for instance, you think about number 9, you think that's a forward striker. And then you think about the other numbers. Um, what is the work of a false striker? Say, for instance, what is the job of a false striker?
When you
Some
say, I want to ask you a question, sorry. When you say something is false, what does it mean?
right. So for instance, you've got somebody that's obviously a forward player, striker, to be more specific, and is wearing shirt number 7, for instance, or any other number. Um, you know, what's the point in that? Well, why can't he just
I that's why I asked that question. What does the word false mean?
yeah,
That means it's not true.
yeah. So
So
you just yeah,
I think when they say the job of a false striker is a deceit, somebody who you put there to make people think is the striker, but is not the striker. So at the mind of a defender, oh, he's a striker, I'm going for it. By the time he takes you out, somebody else becomes a striker. So that job is being done by 2 or 3 people
yeah,
at the same time. So they alternate, they interswitch. He's on this right side now. This guy becomes a striker. So your man thinking he's a striker, he goes for that one. You don't know who to mark. And that's how team deceive the defenders in getting goals. So the goals come from the 3 forward players, but one of them is put there as a false striker to deceive
Mm.
maybe the main top defender in there, thinking he's the number 9. But they just switch, interchange, and that's it.
yeah,
And if you look at it from what you've just said now, I've also thought about it. When they say somebody is a false striker, I don't think they ever wear the number 9 jersey, which is meant for a striker. I don't
right.
think they wear it. Most of them wear a different number.
So they could
They
wear a
talk
number
about a
10
false
for it.
nine, don't they?
Yeah,
Yeah, false
yeah,
9.
false 9, yeah.
False nine.
They could, yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. And the reason why I brought it up is there's a Manchester United player called Joshua Zirkzee. ZexZ. Does everyone know Joshua Zexz?
No, I think it might be a new acquisition, but I don't think I know him.
Yeah. So he's saying, I am what I call a false striker. So Manchester United, Joshua Zexz, explain why he's different to other forwards. And I'm thinking, well, are you scoring goals? If you're not scoring goals, you're not a striker. You're not, you know, what's what's with the
When
fault?
he says, I think when he says the false striker, he's still going to score goals, but he's not a top striker. He's not a top striker. He plays. He can play along a top striker. Maybe play on the wings. Maybe play behind a top striker. Play as a number 10. They interchange his position. He can
Yeah,
play as a 8. He can play as a 10. He can play as a winger.
yeah.
But sometimes, even when a top striker is there, He can play as a winger,
Yeah.
but sometimes, even when a top striker is there, a number 9 is there, they still change. So when that number 9 goes to, if Chelsea's played that under Pochettino, they put, what's his name there? What's his boy's name from Senegal now? Yeah, number 9. Nicholas Jackson. Nicholas
Yeah.
Jackson is number 9. But sometimes you see Nicholas Jackson playing from the wings.
Yeah.
And Cole Palmer coming as a 9, false 9. Sometimes you see Cole Palmer goes somewhere, Raheem Sterling comes in there. It's just to deceive the defender. So as a false 9 or as a false striker, you still score goals, but not like you're the top man there. You're the one everyone is aiming to give the ball to score.
Yeah, so it's not the main striker.
He's not the main striker, yeah.
And I'm gonna say something really controversial here, right? And it's so controversial that it's gonna divide us, right? So I think that what's his name? The English manager that's gone, Gareth Southgate, yeah. I think he did that so well in the Euros. Now I want to see how many people agree with me on that statement. With that statement,
that he did it so well by putting a false 9.
He did the false thing, not necessarily a false.
Yeah. I want to agree. Yes.
Yeah. Trevor.
I think he was a false manager. Yeah, I mean, we had an interesting debate, the three of us at the time, I think. And at the end of the day, I mean, any manager who gets his team to a final of the Euros or the World Cup, you've got to give him some credit for that, quite clearly. For my part, I didn't particularly rate the way England were playing, and I think I said at the time I would have, in the games, the build up to the Euros, for 2 or 3 months on the games that England played, I would have had basically my team already picked, and I would have played that team in 3 or 4 or 5 games before the tournament, just sort of putting in the occasional substitute and so on. Instead of, on the first game, he used Trent Alexander-Arnold as an experiment in midfield, and that, to me, was ridiculous. So, yeah, I think I've got to say he did well to get to the final, but I don't think our performances warranted that, really. And the other thing about it is, with so many ways these days, or there used to be at a World Cup or the Euros, a new thing will come out, the way a team played something, or they did this, they did that. You go back a few years, and the Italians had their own way of playing, both domestically and internationally, very sort of slow build up and so on. Holland with the total football team and so on, different ways. But I think football now has evolved, even though we get the false 9 business, it's evolved to a point where virtually all teams play the same, whether in the domestic leagues or certainly at the Euros. I didn't really see any team doing something that we might think, oh, let's hope we see that in the Premier League this season. I didn't see any difference really between the teams. The only difference is whether you go out there, as I think Southgate did, not to lose, rather than going out there to win. And therefore you do adapt where you put your press, where you have your players pressing up to get, to put pressure on the opponents. And I felt that he went out there not to lose those games. And personally, I think he did the right thing in resigning, but he goes out with a lot of plaudits from the FA and from fans generally, I think, and he deserved that. He did well, but I think he was in the right place at the right time when he took that job. And overall, I give him probably 7 out of 10 as a performance mark. But yeah, I wouldn't select him as a manager for another international team or for my own league team. I wouldn't want him as a manager.
It's interesting how Trevor's just offloaded. It's just giving him the opportunity to offload.